So I am Alastair Campbell, and this is the latest in my Living Better, that's the title of the book, in lockdown series of interviews about life in lockdown. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be with today somebody I know very, very well, a good friend, and I'm not going to apologise for that, a Labour MP, and I'm not going to apologise for that, even though I'm still not back in the party yet because they haven't asked me. David Lammy. David, how are you?
I'm very well, Alice. Despite lockdown and being trapped in North London, it turns out I quite like my 3 kids and my wife, so it's okay. It's all good. And they like me, which is nice.
What have you enjoyed about life in lockdown, and what have you really not enjoyed?
So what I've enjoyed about lockdown is, for a child that grew up in the 70s, stepping out of your house into the streets reminds me of Sundays in those sort of hot, balmy, brown, green days of the 1970s, where there weren't as many cars. You could get a kind of quiet where you could hear the birds. There's probably less pollution, even though I didn't realize it at the time. And I don't know, that's sort of evoked in me a kind of warm, safe feeling. It makes me think of my parents who are no longer with us, and just an age before all the technology and all the rest of it. And I obviously had a sort of longing for that. So that's the bit that I've really enjoyed.
And what have you not enjoyed?
I've not enjoyed, I actually am very good with my own company. And I suppose I've not enjoyed the intensity of being at home the whole time. Actually, the intensity of constant Zoom meetings or Skype meetings or team meetings. I adore the kids, but the sort of struggle with their homework and the balance, I've just not been able to find the moments that I would normally find to myself, even though I'm a busy member of parliament. Even just sort of putting the headphones in and being on the tube, on your way to work, on the commute. There are moments in politics where you have to read and reflect. Anyway, you're on your own, and basically there hasn't been that much of that, and that has got me down at times.
And are you somebody who gets down? Use that phrase, got me down. Do you get down like I get down?
Yes, I do. Now, my down periods come in sort of episodes that go on for months, in particular years. So there are sort of 4 or 5 times in my life that I've got very down, and 1 or 2 times where I've had to take medication because I've got so down. Fortunately, touch wood, I haven't been very down for a while, but I am definitely someone who, I embrace the blues, and I actually love the blues and love jazz and kind of understand that musical, because I'm someone who knows, the blues can come over me, and sometimes they're black clouds that can come over me.
Right, and during the lockdown, you've had a bit of the blues rather than the big black cloud.
No big black clouds, thank God. But I've had a bit of the blues.
And if you were talking to like some of your mates in Tottenham who aren't MPs and maybe don't have a good salary and don't have a nice house and don't have a nice family, and it's really finding life a bit of a struggle, have you sort of learned anything in lockdown that you would say is a kind of transferable tip that you could say to them? Listen, I think the way that you maybe can get through this better is to think about doing ABC.
Well, I suppose the 2 things I've done is I have taken myself off and gone for a long walk and been in nature when I've been for a long walk. There's the Parkland Walk in Haringey where you can walk between Finsbury Park and Highgate. It's urban, but it feels like you're sort of away from things. So that's quite important. And I think the second thing that really has kept me from black clouds and got me out of black clouds are friends, no doubt about it. I mean, and I just thank God that I've got the sort of personality where I've carried friends with me in every single sphere of my life and every single job that I've done. And I've always been able to have one-to-one friendships. I'm actually crap in a group. I'm much better one-to-one. So those friends have been important to me. And I have touched base, I found, during lockdown with those friends, many of whom are experiencing, up and down emotional states, really. So those are the two things I would say. Find some space, go for a long walk, and definitely stay plugged into your friends, and don't underestimate how they'll be feeling similar to you.
And how have you coped? I think this is a bit of a personal therapy question, really. How have you coped with the politics of all this? Because it is absolutely doing my head in, just how shit this government is and how they just sort of carry on regardless.
Alastair, I've talked to you about this before. The politics of where we are has been a sort of growing nightmare now for several years. And for me, to be honest, it started with the referendum and Brexit and Trump and populism and Farage and Rees-Mogg and Boris and Corona. The other thing that's happened, which I should say in terms of mental health, is grief. It's impossible now to be black in Britain and not know someone who's died. I've lost an uncle. Couldn't go to the funeral. The funeral was on Zoom. I've lost a classmate, many friends, parents of friends and things who've died, and it's all been, it's just horrendous, and the nightmare continues. And actually, the other thing that's happening, and this might well take me into a black cloud, is sort of coming to terms with the fact that the Labour Party is a long way from power, because the majority that Boris had is massive. So he can do anything, and you sort of feel slightly impotent. He can do absolutely anything. Actually, better the point, he can do nothing. So, all the Black Lives Matter, nada is he doing, except banging on about Winston Churchill. For obvious reasons, to take the stuffs off the news. So, and that's tough stuff to come to terms with, because you're giving up your job day to day. You want to make things happen, and actually, in the last Parliament under Brexit, it was tiny majorities. You could actually feel quite powerful if you're backbench like me. This Parliament now, he's got 4 years, and it's not on the agenda you and I share. So our vision of life, of the macro, is tough and challenging. And so I guess you find yourself, strangely, this business of sort of returning to the things you can control, your family life, go for a walk, you're out in nature, you stay in touch with your friends, because the rest is you're sort of reacting to events.
Now, David, we started this discussion by you promising me you'd never, ever, ever call him Boris again, and you just did it twice. You're fucking fired.
Great stuff. All right, I've got to ring Ed Miliband now.
All right, mate.
Yeah, take care.
See you soon, David. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.